Fan.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is a beautiful Wednesday in Nashville, Tennessee. We're in the middle of October, and it's looking good. Man, temperatures still up there around 80 degrees, which I'll admit I like, although some of you would like it cooler. 81 degrees at the moment. Just remember, in December, you'll wish it was this way. Let's go to Murfreesboro. It is really nice to welcome back Kelly Holcomb to our microphones. Kelly, how are you?
I'm great, George. How y'all doing?
Doing good. You doing all right?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Everything's good.
Let me kind of clue everybody in on the way I think this is going to go today. First of all, we're going to do the update at the beginning, and then Terry McCormick's Daily Titans update by phone, I'm guessing around 10 after, give or take. So back at the station, beware, we may have you calling Terry, so get ready. Hello, Parker.
Hello, gentlemen.
You have anything snippy you want to say to Kelly?
Of course I have something snippy I want to say to Kelly. I might just hold off for now, though.
Why is that?
I don't know. I just wait for the perfect time. Kelly, you have anything you want to say to me? You look like you have something to say.
I always have something to say. I mean, do you need some warm? Do you need some warm milk from your mommy or something? What's wrong with you? Huh? I mean, you look like you need a hug. Do you need to go home and ask mommy for some support?
I'm a hugger, Kelly. I could always use a hug.
Oh, you could.
Are you going to give it to me?
Are you looking for one from him?
I'm not that guy.
No,
I am not that guy, Parker.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're better off. I don't know what you're better off doing. Let me think about that.
I'll just get hugs from my wife instead.
I'll come back with something really humorous here in a minute. Okay, you want to do the update now?
Sure, we'll go for it now. Please join us at Sports and Social tomorrow.
Hold on, time out a minute. Let's go to private chat because that may be okay. As soon as the update is over, then give Terry a call. Go ahead.
Okay, our update is brought to you by Football Night in Nashville. Please join us at Sports and Social tomorrow night as the Pittsburgh Steelers travel to take on the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, that'll be out at Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall. Let's get a quick MLB postseason update, as yesterday the Los Angeles Dodgers defeated the Milwaukee Brewers 5-1. And George, you said this yesterday, the Brewers will not come back if they fall down 2-0 in the series, and they did just that.
No, and when Danny joins us tomorrow to talk a little postseason baseball, what really has gone on here, the Dodgers kind of screwed around throughout the regular season. They had a ton of injuries in their pitching staff, but the people they needed to get healthy, they got healthy before postseason started. First and foremost, Blake Snell, who rammed it up Milwaukee's you-know-what on Monday night. They could have played till midnight. They weren't going to score on Blake Snell. And then last night, Yamamoto was better than I've seen him. From the second half of the season on to the end, he was okay. He wasn't Cy Young. Last night he was. They got no chance in this series, and I'm not real sure Toronto does either. I think Seattle Dodgers, barring a massive cave-in by somebody, that's going to be your World Series.
And the Blue Jays and Mariners play tonight. The Mariners are already up 2-0 in the series, and they return to Seattle. So home field advantage for the Mariners. I don't see Toronto making it out of this one.
Too bad. Toronto had a really good year. And anyway, looks like Dodgers, Seattle, and that might be a really interesting World Series.
Moving on to the ice, the Nashville Predators fell last night to the Toronto Maple Leafs 7-4. They will return to the ice tomorrow night on the third leg of their Canadian road stretch as they take on the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, the explanation given for why Brady Martin didn't play, I don't get. He's 18 years old, got a lot of energy. If it's load management and you're trying to hold him to a certain amount of time, just say that. But the gobbledygook that got put out there, I don't know what the hell it meant.
Kelly, do you have any expert hockey analysis for us?
Hey, when we have expert hockey guys on, I'll have some expert analysis for you. But right now, we'll leave that up to George there, Parker.
I like deferring to George on this one.
Pretty scary.
Russell Westbrook is back. He is signed with the Sacramento Kings for his 18th NBA season. I didn't realize it had been 18 years.
Wow, I didn't either. He never met a shot he didn't like.
It's true.
Still to this day, he hasn't met a shot he hadn't liked.
Russ will let it fly. That could be on his basketball tombstone. I never met a shot I wouldn't take.
Yes.
Jam Miller is questionable for Alabama versus Tennessee with a concussion. If he were to be out, that would be a big break for the Tennessee defense that struggled mightily against the run versus Arkansas.
Ultimately, it feels like at some point that their lack of run defense is going to get them. Maybe it's Saturday in Tuscaloosa, don't know. But it better be a whole lot better than it was against Arkansas, or they're not winning that game.
I agree.
Good.
I agree. Defense has been terrible. Honestly, I was at the game. I saw it. It was bad.
And that's kind of amazing, too, because everybody was talking about the defensive coordinator, Banks, and how good of a job he's done. But right now, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they play Saturday.
Right now, I don't see it.
I really just think it's injuries. That's probably the biggest reason why. There's been a lot of injuries, especially in the secondary, and some key defensive tackles as well. Have either of you seen this Big Ten private capital deal that's been circulating?
Oh, yeah.
Heard about it, yes.
USC and Michigan both have questioned it after their game on Saturday, and it's just really interesting how this all is going to play out. Now, obviously, USC and Michigan are two powerhouse programs. USC clearly hasn't always been in the Big Ten, but they hold a lot of weight. So if they say no to this, then that certainly isn't going to make this smooth sailing, but it seems like that the Big Ten is going to carry on.
Oh, yeah.
Kelly, when you hear this, what do you think?
It's kind of the way that college sports is about to go. They're about to get all these big tech companies involved, and that's where it's all about money, George. And this goes to, I think it goes to the top 40 teams that are going to, split off at some point, and you're going to have these big organizations that are going to fund all this stuff. I don't know, man. It's uncharted territory that I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen, but money grab is coming, man. I really believe that it's all predicated off money. Now, it's always kind of been that way, but now it's out in the open, George, and can't say that I like it. The David Cutcliffes and the Boots Donnellys and the Alex Robbins that coach me are getting out of it, and it's just it seems like a selfish, greedy landscape right now.
Yeah, it sure does.
Last thing for me, Kansas and Texas Tech have both been fined $25,000 for a post-game kind of word exchange between Lance Leipold, the Kansas head coach, and Joey McGuire. This involved the fans throwing tortillas on the field on Texas Tech's part, and apparently Lance Leipold said that a pocket knife was thrown at one of the members of the coaching staff. So there was a dispute post-game, and both schools have been fined.
All right.
Now, wait a minute. Hold on a second. You started the story saying the coaches had been fined.
No, I'm sorry. The schools have been fined.
Okay.
It was a dispute between the coaches.
So what is it? Okay, so obviously Leipold said something to Joey McGuire to the effect of, hey, this isn't right. This shouldn't have happened. It got heated. right? I didn't see it.
Yeah, that's exactly
Okay.
what happened.
And so he claims a pocket knife was thrown at one of the assistant coaches.
Yes. Yep.
So why is he getting fined?
I didn't see this in real time, but apparently,
Well, I mean, does the story say he's being fined for wearing shoes that don't match? Is he being fined for what's he being fined for?
what the
Because I
school,
tell the Big 12 to shove it up their butt.
yeah, what the story is saying is the Big 12 is fining Kansas and Texas Tech for the fallout dispute over a fan behavior in the Red Raiders' 42-17 win in Lubbock.
Okay. And my only point to that would be that if a fan threw, did you say a pocket knife?
Yep.
At one of his assistant coaches?
Yep.
I'd call the commissioner and say, listen, you want the money? You come get it. How about that, Kelly? You want this money so damn bad? You come to Kansas and I'll pay you, but I ain't sending it.
That's right. You go stand your ground, ain't you, George?
You're damn right.
Oh,
we
yeah.
are.
Oh, yeah.
You are I mean, give me a break. What's a
Who
coach
knows?
supposed to do there? Thank you for throwing the knife. Okay, I'm told you're done, aren't you?
I'm done.
Yeah. That's a stupid story. The Big 12 needs better things to worry about.
And you wonder why it was last on my list.
Well, maybe so. Okay. Terry McCormick's Daily Titans update is now here. Terry, of course, Main Street Media and TitanInsider.com. Terry, how are you?
I'm doing well, George. How are you?
Good. So you put a story out there late last night about Brian Callahan being stripped of the play calling duties, and your claim is whom, I guess that's the proper English, who said you can't do it?
Yeah, from what I've been told and from what I've been able to dig up, that came from the top. You know, that the play calling, which, you know, Brian Callahan tried to say he voluntarily gave up to concentrate on more of the head coaching responsibilities. But it appears that ownership was had their fingers in that pie, and most likely Amy Adams Strunk.
Most likely, or did?
Most likely. I mean, that's pretty much the general conclusion that's been drawn here, is that she's the one that ordered Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi to meet with Brian Callahan and, you know, tell him that he was going to give up the play calling.
Did they tell him it came from the owner?
I think he knew. Yeah, I think he knew that it came from the owner.
Yeah. So
because basically Monday he was sort of fired in the same fashion, where the higher ups met and then Brinker and Borgonzi went and told him that they were making the change. And we know that came from her.
So at 4:20 today, Terry's going to rejoin us, and we're going to talk through the issues. How do you fix this dumpster fire? Because on one hand, you would wish that it's just simply on the field. And as we know, it's not. They have got massive problems that we're going to get into with Terry at 4:20. Okay, Cam Ward spoke moments ago. Mike Vrabel spoke earlier today, given that New England is this week's opponent. Terry, talk to me about what you found interesting or important.
Well, Vrabel, you know, was careful not to, you know, create a stir ahead of the game. But, you know, this thing means a lot to him to come in here and give them the thumping for, you know, the way he exited here. And I think that, you know, he was very careful and, you know, was saying that he values the relationships. But it was kind of telling. He was asked about what he still has left from his time in Tennessee in the way of mementos. And he said, most of it went to goodwill.
Hey, here's Vrabel's stuff. So, Terry, I believe him when he says that there's certain people that he still cares a lot about, because I'm told inside the building there was a group that really liked him. There was also a group that was not as fond of him. A lot of those people have been fired by Burke Nihill over the last year or so. I'm also told by friends of Vrabel that the feelings toward her are extremely pissy.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt that at all, because, she was right there at the forefront of the reason he was fired, because he went to her with his list of grievances and all, and she basically said, didn't want that kind of environment in the building and got rid of him. It's very telling too, George. There are only 10 players on the 53-man roster, plus 2 on the practice squad and 2 more on injured reserve, left from Vrabel's last year of 2023, 2 years ago. 14 guys.
Wow.
Out of ever how many are on injured reserve, there are probably 5 or 6. There's a 16-man practice squad and a 53-man roster. So you can do the math. It's probably about 75 guys. And there are 14 of them left that he coached.
Yeah. So one of the new ones is Cam Ward. He spoke today. He obviously, as the quarterback, has to do a lot of talking. What did he say about the change and what he's either looking forward to or not looking forward to?
Well, he was the one that stuck up for Brian Callahan very early on through training camp, saying that he wanted to be with him for a long time and wanted to have the continuity of, having to play for one coach and learn from one coach. Well, that's gone out the window now. And he was saying that, it's just up to him. Now, he said the process doesn't really change. It's just, basically coming from a different voice now in Mike McCoy. And so, he's going to have to adjust, as are the rest of the guys here. I think, they're going to try to work on some of the things that need working on in his game. McCoy talked about that yesterday and touched on it a little bit again today, just about the things that, he needs to improve in his game, like being, not drifting so much in the pocket, and getting the ball out quicker and making faster reads and playing with a little bit more urgency and tempo, more so than the offense has done. So that's one of the, if Mike McCoy wants a chance to keep this job, the best thing that can happen for him is for Cam Ward to start figuring things out.
So you referenced yesterday the Michael Silver article, and I went back and reread it. Or read it for the first time, and he sort of intimates that Callahan's tenuous, status with the team was making it harder to teach Cam Ward certain fundamentals. Do you think that's true?
Well, how could it not be weighing on you if you're wondering if the guy is going to be here week after week? Because, I'll be honest with you, George. I saw some of the Titans officials at halftime of that Arizona game, and they just had a sick look on their face. If they don't rally and win that game, I think he probably would have been fired a week ago.
Yeah. Okay, we'll leave it there. See you at 4:20. It should be pretty interesting.
All right. Call me back then. Thanks.
That is Terry McCormick's Daily Titans Update. He has been a busy boy this week with all of what's been going down. After the break, Nashville's hardest working sports personality, Mike Organ from the Tennessean, will join us. This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
A golf cart from Mikey's Motors is the perfect way to get around this summer. Whether you're going to the park, the pool, or the playground, do it in a brand new golf cart from Mikey's Motors, Franklin and Murfreesboro.
Summertime fun in Tennessee. That's what we sell at Mikey's Motors. Come see how we roll.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me. the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
At Wilson Bank and Trust, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between personal service and digital solutions. As your local independent bank, we're proud to offer the relationships and trusted service you expect, along with the tools and technology that keep you moving forward. So whether you're growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank and Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC.
Are you looking for expert medical care in Nashville without leaving your home? Medical House Calls brings concierge-level health care directly to your door. Whether you need urgent attention, ongoing primary care, revitalizing IV therapy, or medically guided weight loss, our experienced providers are just a phone call away at 615-838-2375 or go online, medicalhousecalls.com.
Or to view some of their completed projects.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400. Leaving your home? Medical House Calls brings concierge-level health care directly to your door. Whether you need urgent attention, ongoing primary care, revitalizing IV therapy, or medically guided weight loss, our experienced providers are just a phone call away at 615-838-2375 or go online, medicalhousecalls.com.
ESPN Radio lives here. Your sports live here on ESPN 94.9 The Fan.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Just got word that Mike Organ will not join us today at 3:20. So we move on. Let me talk about a couple of things that I was going to get into. First of all, congratulations to Eddie George. Don't know who all saw it. I happened to see it. I'm talking about the game Saturday. They rallied from way back against one of the better teams in the MAC, Toledo, and ended up winning 28-21 in what is so far Eddie George's biggest win at the new school. Now, I'm going to throw this out here, and Kelly, I'd be curious your thoughts about this. In the Rooney Rule,
Yeah.
the Rooney Rule has been put in place, even though at times it's been abused, to try to help minorities have a better shot at being, being involved in a coaching search process. The intentions, I think, by the NFL and particularly by the Rooney family that put it together were very honorable. The teams, as is often the case, have kind of trampled on it and from time to time have made it into a joke. Should the Titans interview Eddie George as part of the Rooney Rule process?
Man, that's a really good question, George. You know what? I think I say yes. He's beloved in the city. He lived here. He's done so many things. He took TSU and he got them some notoriety. He took them to the playoffs last year in the FCS level. Now he's going to Bowling Green. And when we had him on that day, I was really worried about him taking that job because he played in the state of Ohio, and he played at Ohio State. And a lot of times, I can always remember when Peyton retired, everybody said, well, Peyton's coming back to be the Tennessee Titans head coach, and Peyton's coming back to be the Tennessee Vols head coach. And I said, are you out of your mind? Why would Peyton go back to a place that he's loved? He's legendary there. All he can do would be able to mess it up. Even if he is somewhat successful, the expectations of him coming back to the state of Tennessee and doing that would be tremendously high. And that's why I asked Eddie George that day, because he's so beloved in the state of Ohio, and now he's going back to Bowling Green. And he was like, he had no qualms about what he said. He said, I'm not worried about it. Hey, I'm going to go do the best job that I can do. Hopefully that is enough. And you know what? He's obviously a really good football coach. And I think he kind of got his feet wet at TSU, and he had Jeff Fisher help him. He had some good people around him. I would say that, yes, I would absolutely look at him and give him an interview, talk to him, and act like you're serious, because I think the guy, one thing he does is he puts good people around him. And as a head coach, that's what you have to do. You have to have people like he knew going into the situation. And that's what makes me like Eddie George quite a bit, because he's not scared to take a chance, to take a risk. And that's what Tom Moore used to say, no guts, no blue chip, son. And you know what? Eddie George has got guts, and I don't even know if I would have that. I think I would probably be a pretty good head coach, but he went into it head coach. He had never had any head coaching experience at all, and he goes to TSU and he gives him some notoriety, and he brings him kind of back on the map, won some games with him, and now he's going to Bowling Green. So absolutely, I would absolutely interview him for the head coaching job of the Tennessee Titans.
Okay. There would also be sort of if you're going to interview him, it better not be a phony deal just to fulfill a Rooney Rule obligation, because this is one of the 3 or 4 biggest stars in Tennessee Titan history. And people here, if he got brought in for an interview and it got out that it was a phony pile of crap, people would be pissed. So you have to be careful if you're going down that road.
I totally agree with you, George, and people will find out about that. But I don't think, hopefully it's not that. Now, I've heard of issues in the National Football League where it has been like a phony interview with some of these guys. And you know what? The Rooney Rule, you got Mike Tomlin, one of the better coaches in the National Football League. Never since he's been in the Pittsburgh organization has had a losing season. So they put their money where their mouth is, and they came up with that rule a long time ago. But you are right. Some people do give phony interviews. I certainly hope if Eddie George came back with what he meant to the city, what he meant to that organization, that would not happen.
Okay, let me ask a tough question here. In the years that he's been a head coach on the college level, does that qualify him for that next step?
I don't know. Did it qualify Brian Callahan to be a head coach? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, normally it's the guys that get those head coaching spots are offensive coordinators that are up and coming, or defensive coordinators that are up and coming. Brian Callahan had never called plays. I mean, John Harbaugh is one of those exceptions where he was a special teams coach at the Philadelphia Eagles, because he was there when I was there for my short cup of coffee. But John Harbaugh was a special teams coach, and he went on to be the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens and been very successful. But I mean, if you look at it, like what qualifications did he have? I know his dad was a head coach of the National Football League, and maybe that's what the ownership and maybe that's what they were thinking. He could come in and help, but I don't know, George. I just know that a lot of times it's hard for players to get in that position, because we as players don't understand what the coaches go through. If you're there with Andy Reid, you're staying all night, you're staying to midnight, you're doing game plan stuff, you're meeting with guys. He stays there all night. Players, used to go, they used to get there early in the morning. We had breakfast. We went to all of our meetings. We went to walkthroughs. We had practice. Then we watched film after practice, maybe worked out. Then we went home. Coaches stay. That's when coaches get all their work done. So sometimes it's hard for players to go over that line to be a coach. But you know what? Eddie's done a really good job of it. I don't know if he deserves that, but just from his notoriety and what he did at this organization, it's the Rooney Rule. And I say you absolutely, because I think he's been successful, and I think he does a really good job of getting good people around him.
As we're going to get to at 420, there's a little more to this next hire. Now, is she smart enough to know this? Hell, I don't know. I don't know what she's thinking. And I certainly don't know what their front office is thinking on a variety of fronts. But here's the way it seems to me right now. I know what it was like in the late 90s. This city was so proud to have that franchise. And my buddy, the late, great Frank Wycheck, was a leader out there in getting a bunch of teammates out doing stuff. Frank, to be honest, loved the attention, loved doing a Monday night radio show that he and I did for years before he got into the sports talk business. But the fact of it is, those Titans were out and about everywhere. And there was a feeling of community that isn't even close to there anymore. So they've got a dome stadium that they're building. And it seems to me right now that not only do they need a head coach who knows what he's doing, but they also need somebody who can be a real face and somebody that galvanizes this fan base, that the fan base says, I'm getting behind that sucker. See, to me, the fan base didn't get behind Brian Callahan. They barely knew him. What they knew, they thought disorganized, doesn't know what he's doing. There really was little or no love there. And if the truth be known, we were saying it months ago, Brian Callahan was never going to be the coach in that new dome stadium. So not only do they need a coach that knows what the hell he's doing on Sundays, but they need one that's out in the community that gets the Titans back into a situation where this community cares about them, loves them, whatever words you want to use. It doesn't exist right now.
George, that's a very good point that you bring up, and you bring up a lot of good points. You're very smart.
Whoa, get that, Parker. Do
I need to clip that?
Get that on tape.
Oh my gosh!
I said that kind of
the first and last time.
George, I said that kind of under my breath. I knew what I was doing, but I want y'all to think about this. That not only seems like a Tennessee Titan problem, but that seems like a National Football League problem now, because I think that we've made the Travis Kelce's, the Patrick Mahomes, the Tom Brady's, all these guys, we put them up on a pedestal so much, and now they're celebrities. Back in the day, football players, I guess, like the Joe Namath of the world, they were celebrities back then. I get it. But still, there was a sense of community. Now, I don't feel as though, maybe I'm wrong, y'all tell me, but I don't feel as though that these guys think that that's part of their job. I don't think that they, and I know other organizations are different, and other places, like when you play in Green Bay, it's kind of a community deal. When you play for the Buffalo Bills, which I was there, it's kind of a community deal. But you go to these big cities, I just don't know if the guys feel as though that it's part of their deal anymore. Now, I know some organizations do a really good job of that, and I hear what you're saying, George, but I think that day's really come and gone. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I just don't think the guys think that that's their responsibility anymore.
Are you talking about the Titans right now, or just the overall landscape of the NFL?
I'm talking about the overall landscape of the NFL, man. Okay. I really do, because I think some of these guys have gotten, like these guys have gotten these big names. And I'm not saying that that happens. I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel, because I feel kind of what's happened to the Titans, because George is right. I can, because I played back in those days, and I've told everybody when I used to play the Tennessee Titans, when I was coming up and when we were playing, the Tennessee Titans were really good. They had the Keith Bullocks and the Eddie Georges and the Javon Curses, all those big name guys. They don't have that anymore, but I'm just saying, like, it's happening with the Titans, but I'm not sure that it's not happening all over the National Football League with getting out in the community and being involved in things. I'm just spitballing here. I'm not saying that I'm right. It's my opinion, but I feel as though that these guys coming out of college that are getting paid now, they're making all this money, and then they come to the National Football League and they're making all this money, and they're like, I'm not doing that.
Well, first of all, you're raising some issues about whether this stuff even matters anymore. Has Nashville changed so much as a city? Yeah, it's changed a lot. I don't think it's changed so much that, players being out and about in this community wouldn't be a positive thing. Losing makes all of this harder. And let's face it, the last 2.5 years have been a dumpster fire. We've got scenarios that make no sense. You got a team president who's an empty suit. You've got Borgonzi and Chad Brinker. Who's in charge? Who isn't in charge? And why on God's earth would Borgonzi have left Kansas City to be a GM if he had no real power, just to say I'm one of 32? I don't get a lot of stuff that goes on there. She is no longer Sweet Amy. Okay, that whole Miss Amy crap that we used to feed on everybody. Listen, he's a big part of this problem. We used to talk about her dad being a problem. He's a way bigger problem than her dad ever was here.
In other words, she's just Amy and not Miss Amy anymore. Just Amy.
Well, I mean, she doesn't know what the hell she's doing. And I'll tell you what's coming. If this continues for 2-3 more years, because it almost happened, and Terry will remember it. We're going to talk about it at 420. The NFL got concerned enough at one point to try to place a person in here to kind of monitor what was going on. It was Roger Hedrick. Well, this franchise, this thing's become an embarrassment. She clearly doesn't know what she's doing. I think she's listening to people who don't have any more expertise than she does. And the result is what you're seeing.
I think you raise a great point in terms of why did Bergonzi want to come here in the first place? He had it really good in Kansas City. I think that is going to be the big issue with this head coaching search, because we can talk about all these candidates all we want to, but it boils down to the fact, what makes them want to come here? The Titans have fired somebody in a prominent position the last 4 years, starting with John Robinson. Personally, if I were a coaching candidate, I wouldn't want to come into this cycle of someone's head getting chopped off every other year. It just wouldn't make a whole lot of sense.
Now, if I'm getting interviewed by the Tennessee Titans, and I've told you this before, George, you know what I'm about to say, but if I'm getting interviewed by these guys, I'm doing a lot of the interviewing. I'm coming in guns a-blazing, and I'm going to be, are you going to give me the opportunity to do what needs to be done to turn this around? If you're not going to do that, then I'm not coming. There's no need to even waste our time here. That's what you got to say.
Well, you've said it a different way a few times, which is normally when these interviews take place, it's, the team with the legal pad saying, we have a list of questions. Let's start with, what people would you be bringing here? But I think you've hit a nail on the head, which is, this thing is such a pile of crap that a potential candidate's going, guess what? I got a legal pad and my questions are more important than yours.
Yeah, and then there's another deal too, and this is probably where Mike Vrabel rubbed her wrong. But we're hearing that, and through Terry and what you talked about earlier, that she forced Brian Callahan to give up play calling. If I'm the head coach and I've got an offensive coordinator, okay, look, you're hiring me to do a job. Please don't tell me to do that. Now, I understand that you're the one that holds the checkbook and you're the one that holds, everything for this job for me. But, don't come down here telling me, because I've been around football for a long time, I know what I'm doing. Give me a chance to show you what I'm doing with my hires, and I don't need you telling me that, hey, the guy that I got calling plays is not good enough. I don't need you coming down here telling me. I don't need micromanaged. Let me do my job, and if I get fired and you want to fire me, let it happen with me doing what I know how to do, which is coach football.
Okay, here are a couple of things, and I've sort of alluded to some of this in the past, but here goes. Okay, it's very obvious to me that Vrabel, in the end, was doing a lot of bitching in-house.
But it's understandable, though, don't you think?
It is. He turned out to be right about all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
But then your empty suit and your owner get together and they decide they don't want anybody who's going to cause them any trouble. So here's a fair question to ask that we will never know the answer to. Okay. Did these two leading this search ever say to Zach Taylor, the coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, if you think he's so dadgum qualified, why didn't you turn over play calling to him? Did they even know that he had never called plays? Because clearly, when he started calling plays, other stuff went straight over his head. And, I'm saying this as somebody who knows enough about Brian to say he's a really decent human being. And I hope for nothing for the best, but the best for him in the future. But he didn't have a clue here.
All that stuff too, Parker, and I know you're going to say something, but you have this stuff too where you don't want to be the reason why a guy doesn't get a job. So that they call Zach Taylor in Cincinnati, but he's not. How do you say that the guy's not ready without hurting him getting that job? You understand what I'm saying? And that's what, even when these scouts come around and they're asking about a Pac-Man Jones way back when, talking to Rich Rod over in West Virginia, are you going to hurt that guy's opportunity to make a lot of money? You know what you've had to deal with, but it comes down, are you going to, now I had a coach in college that would. Coach Donnelly did not care. And I've heard some of the things he told people, but there's not a lot of people that will do that. And I'm sure the head coach of Cincinnati didn't want to hurt Brian Callahan's opportunity to be a head coach, and maybe there might be something there. I don't know.
Because that makes his coaching tree look a lot better. I have two theories. I have two theories with this. One, I think they wanted a yes man because Vrabel rubbed them the wrong way. Brian Callahan doesn't have now this is not me bashing him as a human being because I think he's a great person, but he doesn't have that alpha personality that you need as a head coach, and Mike Vrabel did. So when Mike Vrabel rubbed them the wrong way, they wanted a yes man in Brian Callahan. And two, I think he overhyped the fact that he worked with Peyton Manning, Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford, and Joe Burrow. How much of a role did Brian Callahan actually play in developing those guys? I tend to believe, now that we can see hindsight, that he didn't have a whole lot to do with that. Peyton Manning was already developed. Joe Burrow is a stud, one of these generational guys. And Matthew Stafford, too, was early on in his career, but I don't think Brian Callahan played much of a role in developing those guys.
Well, we're never going to know the answers, but the question that's out there, that's a fair one, did they do their due diligence? And my guess is an emphatic no. No, they didn't, because he wasn't anywhere close to ready to be an NFL head coach. We'll go to the break, and then we'll talk a little bit more. Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee at 4 o'clock, sponsored by the good folks at Pancoast Benefits. And then Terry McCormick will rejoin us as we get down and dirty on the Titans' future.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, Save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Smashville hockey. Around here, it can sound like a language of its own. But hey, if you can pronounce Demumbrian, then names like Yossi, Shea, and Marchessault will roll right off the tongue. Nashville Predators, only in Smashville.
Sports and Social at Green Hills Mall is the new home for our Football Night in Nashville promotion. Their food is terrific. Their TV setup looks like a racing sports book in Vegas. And if you're a sports fan, you can't beat it. Starting September the 4th, we'll broadcast from Sports and Social every Thursday night. There's Pop-A-Shot, great football, and the chance to win a beautiful Mikey's Motors golf cart. See you at Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. Here's Officer Darren Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
To have them, that's just going to be the start of many.
If you want to be part of the Plaster Show advertising family, it's simple. Just email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Again, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We will fit your budget and your needs.
The director is back. Hello again, everybody. It's the George Plaster Show. Hope you'll join me, Kelly Holcomb, and Billy Derrick Monday through Friday on 94.9 The Fan from 3 to 5 p.m. Talk sports with the Plaz, the George Plaster Show. Weekday afternoons at 3 on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
We're back. I don't want to belabor the point, but it really hadn't been brought up much. Brian Callahan looked very overmatched in this job, and I don't think it speaks well of Zach Taylor, the Bengals coach. I'm assuming, as dumb as I think they are, that surely to God they picked up a phone and called Zach Taylor and said, look, we're really thinking about hiring your guy. Tell us what you think we need to know. Okay? It puts a head coach in a difficult spot because, you know, if he has to say, I don't think he's quite ready for it, that probably doesn't go real well. But he's also got to have credibility. And I think his credibility here is in question for whatever it was he told them. Brian Callahan was not overmatched. He was badly overmatched.
I agree, George. But it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Is a coach going to step up and say, hey, I don't think he's ready? Are you going to hold him back from making money or at least getting an interview? I don't know. That's a tough situation. I think Parker had a good idea right there, too. It's all about the coaching tree. If he pans out, then your coaching tree becomes bigger. And, you know, guys from maybe go, if Brian Callahan made it here and he was that guy, some of the guys go off and they start sprouting out. I mean, that's going to make Zach Taylor look better. So I just, that's a tough spot to be in, George. Nobody wants to hold anybody back, but at some point you have to say that my name's on this. And I just don't know. I think Parker hit the nail on the head earlier when he's saying, and everybody said it, you've even said it, he just doesn't seem like an alpha guy to me when it comes like we sit in meetings and we're in team meetings, and the guy at the head of the organization as the head coach got to be a dude. He's got to be that guy. He's got to be a Mike Tomlin. He's got to be a Bill Cowher. He's got to be a Bill Belichick that got to be the bad guy at some point. And I just don't see Brian Callahan being that person.
It didn't feel that way, but not being around him much, I don't really know whether I'm qualified to say that he had that in him or he didn't have that in him. When Will Levis had the 2 screw-ups at the start of last year, he didn't hold back at all.
No, he did not. He did not. Go ahead, Parker.
Will Levis would have drove anybody crazy. It would have drove the most mild-mannered person crazy with those boneheaded mistakes. But, Kelly, you and I both know this as quarterbacks. You have to be a jerk sometimes. You just have to. It's just part of the job. You may not like it, but it just requires that of you. And when you're a head coach in the NFL, you got to command the room. And I question if Brian Callahan actually commanded the room. And it seemed like towards the end of his tenure that the players were getting fed up with it, and they're kind of fed up with it now.
I've told you this, George. When a new coach comes in, you've got a certain amount of time where guys are going to buy in. You got about a year that guys are going to buy in. And then if things keep happening and the same stuff keeps going on and situationally you're just not very good and those guys see you, I've told you before, everybody in the locker room knows. And they know what you can do as a coach. They've been around it for a long time. And that starts waning. I don't even know if you get a year sometimes with these guys. And they start, everybody's creating opinions about you. And I just don't see him commanding the locker room like Parker just said. I just don't see that. And I think that started wearing on the guys, and they just said, hey, man, this dude doesn't know what he's doing.
I've put something out there that I have no proof of. Let me make that clear up front. I have no proof. But I don't believe for a minute that Jeffrey Simmons' comments in the locker room in Vegas did anything to help Brian Callahan. He put it out there pretty succinctly that our practice habits sucked. They sucked all week. It led to this. And the inference sort of was nobody did anything about it.
I'm at the point where I feel sorry for Jeffrey Simmons. I didn't feel this way before the season, but I feel sorry for the guy because he is doing everything he can to help this team win football games. He went out and he lost weight, changed his diet over the offseason, and he has been a game wrecker. But outside of Jeffrey Simmons, you look at the rest of the roster, and I struggle to even name the second best player on the team. Yeah, I feel so bad for the dude. And you're right, George. His comments definitely didn't help. And to me, I'm kind of guessing a little bit here, but by the way that he sounded after the game, it to me, I took it as, okay, this guy is telling us he wants Brian Callahan fired without actually saying the words.
George, it's amazing to me, and I go back to the past, man, but like you look at this team, and Jeffrey Simmons is the only name on that team. You go back to when they first came here, Steve McNair, Eddie George, Frank Wycheck, Javon Curse. You got all these guys that were heck of a football players, and you came down here, and it was a little intimidating because they were really good. The Keith Bullocks, they were really good back in the day. And I told people a long time ago, I said, the Titans fans are spoiled. They went to the Super Bowl that one year, but they've won a lot of games since they've been in the state of Tennessee when they first started. And now, man, from what they were to what they are now, it's really sad, and it's not the organization has got to get better.
You will see it Sunday. First of all, when this team got here, it was 69,000, and it was Titans fans. And the visitors, if there were any visiting fans, they were in the corners of the upper deck. When you watch on Sunday, because I saw it a year ago when the Patriots sucked, they had the entire lower bowl on the Patriots side of the field, the entire bowl, and they were horrible. Now they're pretty doggone good, and with a chance of rain and about a 75% chance of rain, it'll be interesting to see what Nissan Stadium looks like on Sunday. Might not be pretty.
No, you're right.
I wanted to get y'all's opinion on this. So, and I'll do this quickly because I know we got to head to break. But James Franklin, when he got fired at Penn State, my reaction was, okay, to me, he's one of the best coaches in the sport because he's fifth in wins among active head coaches. Now, I understand he had some more rungs of the ladder he had to climb. Penn State was vying to compete for a national championship. And I kind of tie this into the Titans because there was a lot of winning under Mike Vrabel. This team was a win away from the Super Bowl in 2019, had the number 1 overall seed in 2021. To me, if you're going to fire Vrabel, you have to have a surefire, better candidate in mind.
Stop there because we're done for hour number 1. When we come back, you will hear from Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee, and then Terry McCormick will join us as we try to fix what ails this franchise. This is the George Plaster Show.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. While we all enjoy the beautiful fall weather, we also know this is the time for home improvement projects before the cold winds of winter blow in. If replacing those old drafty windows is on your list, I suggest you reach out to the best in the business, Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. You can't beat the combination of the highest quality doors and windows in the business with expert craftsmanship from the Pella Windows installation team. Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Visit PellaNashville.com for more information.
The wait is over. The largest sports book in Kentucky is now open at the Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs. Feel the rush of every play in a venue built for sports fans. Catch all your favorite games with an 80-foot screen, stadium-style seating, and live daily broadcasts from VSiN, the sports betting network. Plus, download the Circa Sports Kentucky mobile app today and start betting like a pro anywhere in Kentucky. The largest sports book in Kentucky, Circa Sports, is now open at the Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Kick off your week the Massaro way, where every snack comes with a side of queso, every matchup is met with a bold margarita, and every fan becomes familia. With big screens, bold flavor, and unbeatable vibes, this is how Massaro does football. From every drive to every down, Massaro is where football hits different. This isn't just game night, it's Massaro Football Mondays on 12th South. Mondays were made for Massaro.
Now, here's your latest Fox 17 Code Red weather report.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobus, starting off in the low 50s once again, and we'll go 3 for 3 when it comes to this week's afternoons and sunshine. A high temperature later on this afternoon, right near 80.
Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Welcome to Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel, where every dish tells the story of Southern tradition and culinary excellence. Dive into our enhanced menu, featuring delights like the legendary Biscuit Bar and freshly revamped dishes that bring the farm straight to your fork. Perfect for a leisurely breakfast or a hearty lunch. We're open every day, ready to treat you to a meal that feels like home. Experience the refreshed feel at Kitchen Notes inside the Omni Nashville Hotel, where every bite is a note in Nashville's symphony of flavors.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429, has a path to a dignified career. Are you a skilled electrician or lineman? Tired of dead-end, low-paying jobs? Local 429 is accepting applications for highly skilled electricians and linemen and is providing the best training in Middle Tennessee. They are the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429. Call them at 615-889-4429 or go online to ibew429.org. IBEW Local 429, the best training and training the best.
Hello, this is Jim Mitchell with Dad's Towing in West Nashville Wrecker. We have partnered with Guardian Fleet to provide Davison and surrounding counties with the best professional towing and recovery service available. When you're involved in an accident or need a general tow for repairs, call on West Nashville Wrecker or Dad's Towing.
Dad's Towing Service in West Nashville Wrecker. Keep this number handy, 615-833-3703, 615-833-3703. Online at dadstowingservice.com.
Hey everybody, Joe Rexrod here for Sealmaster. You know, your parking lot is the welcome mat of your property. You want to keep it protected and looking new with Sealmaster products made locally by the largest coating brand in the world. Winter's on its way, so it's imperative that it be coated before the damage is done. Also, pickleball courts and other recreational uses here. You can call Sealmaster today for a qualified contractor. Do it right the first time and have it sealed with the help of the experts at Sealmaster. Call 615-255-5505 or visit sealmaster.net and tell them Joe sent you.
Electronic Express is celebrating our 42nd anniversary with big savings in every department. Get a Samsung 75-inch smart TV, only $499. A Klipsch portable wireless party speaker for just $79. A Samsung mega capacity fridge for only $12.99. An LG 34-inch ultra-wide computer monitor, just $199. Shopping local has its perks too, like free delivery and up to 24 months interest-free financing. Visit us in-store or at electronicexpress.com. We've got that.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Time for our stat of the day, brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. George, can you help me pronounce this name? Because I know
Just go with Yamamoto.
Yamamoto was dominant against the Brewers yesterday, pitching the first postseason complete game since whom? Hint, it happened in 2017.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, so we're going back 8 years ago. John Lester is a thought. Justin Verlander would be a thought. Clayton Kershaw would be a thought, although I'm guessing it's not him. Kelly, you got any you want to throw out there?
I was going to say you're on your own, but I think it's probably, if it's me, if you're asking me, I think it would be Verlander. That would be the name that I would go with.
Let's go with the 43-year-old who says he's coming back. Show me Justin Verlander.
Hey.
There you go, George.
Miracle.
It's the first time in Kelly's life that he got one of these right.
That's not true.
That is
Parker,
not true.
You are speaking out of your rear end, dude. You have no clue. You have no
First
clue.
time since I've been here.
I would say something nasty to you, but I'm not going to because we're on radio.
Yeah, save that
I'm
for
just
off
not
the
going
air.
to do it. Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you
I look
one day.
forward to that first meeting off the air. You all have not met face to face.
I know. I'm looking forward to Kelly taking me out to dinner or something.
You're looking forward to that? Well, don't hold your breath.
Okay. We officially, as opposed to unofficially, have gotten into the 4 o'clock hour from our digs at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. I have no idea why that was so hard to say, but we're into the 4 o'clock hour. And I want to thank the folks at Pancoast Benefits because they are bringing us today's interview with Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee. Commodores, in one of their biggest home games in years, take on the LSU Bengal Tigers of Coach Brian Kelly. Here's a scary thought. I didn't do the interview today. Parker Kelly did. Let's listen in.
Oh, boy.
Clark, I know that the focus this week is on LSU, and I wanted to quickly kind of recap 2 weeks ago when your team traveled to Tuscaloosa. I'm not going to spend too much time on that because I know what the focus is this week. But obviously, your team suffered a tough loss, the first loss of the season. What did you learn about your team specifically after that game?
Well, I don't know that I necessarily learned anything about them. I think we pretty well know who we are. I believe we learned about the kind of style of game we need to play or the mistakes we need to avoid to have a chance to win games like that. And, that it's not too different than the formula we had a year ago where we got to take care of the ball. We got to, play complementary football. And I felt like we gave ourselves the possessions to jump back in the game. We just weren't able to move the ball in the second half the way we needed to capitalize. I think if we scored the touchdown when we got the the second turnover there in the red zone, we take the lead there in the fourth quarter. I think we have a chance to make that really interesting. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do that, and so the lesson becomes, let's take care of the ball. Let's throw it. Let's catch it. Let's get in rhythm offensively and extend drives, and that gives us the opportunity to be explosive. Again, credit Alabama, but the learning is about the way we need to play to win, and so we hope to carry that learning forward.
And you mentioned taking care of the football. Diego Pavia had a couple of uncharacteristic turnovers. What have you seen out of him the last 2 weeks in practice, and kind of how he's carried himself since that point?
Well, he hadn't changed. I mean, there's nothing, and again, he took ownership of those when we were still in Tuscaloosa, and one of them is on a scramble play where the defender gets a good shot at the ball, and we got to do a better job doubling down and getting it fully protected in that situation. And the other, he lost sight of the safety, who was kind of behind the umpire there and jumped in front of a throw that, from Diego's perspective, looked open. Those things happen. I think we want to put ourselves in position to have his back when there are turnovers. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do that, and having two in that area certainly hurt us. So he hasn't changed. He's going to play his game, and I don't think those were necessarily process issues. I think they're, again, lessons and reminders of how important ball decisions are and ball security is, and we'll be just fine. But he hasn't changed at all. He's been great in his process, great in his preparation, and excited to play on Saturday.
And Clark, one of the things that I've noticed personally about this team, and it's not just Diego Pavia, but it's the whole team, and that's the emotional maturity. And I'm sure that ties into the experience, the overall age of this team. Never get too high, never get too low, kind of have that short-term memory. Would I be correct in saying that?
I hope so. That's what we've, that's kind of the bedrock of the competitive foundation that we've attempted to build here. And I think over the course of 5 years, we've got a mature group who've heard the messaging now for a while and taken it to heart. And it all comes down to our belief in who we are and what we can do. We say belief is a practice, so that means in any given moment, whether we're ahead or behind, we have a focus in the present. We understand that our job is not to project to where the end may be. It's just to focus in the next snap, and that keeps us grounded, and it keeps us in mission focus.
And now shifting the focus to LSU this week, it's going to be a great atmosphere. I'm expecting a sold-out stadium. How does your team kind of balance the excitement factor of playing in a big game like this? Because LSU's coming to town, they're a top 10 team, but also focusing on the task at hand, and that is ultimately winning the football game.
We don't spend a lot of time on what the environment's going to be or not be. Again, we enjoy a good crowd. We enjoy, those stages are special, but the game's played between the lines. So we talk about not chasing the emotions of the game. We talk about needing to have the patience to execute over 4 quarters. That's what it's going to take to beat this LSU team. This is a very talented defense. This is a very capable offense. We need to be at our best in all 3 phases, and the way we enjoy the game is to win the game. So, our focus is on us first, how we best represent our systems, our style of play. It's on not chasing the emotions of the environment or chasing the emotions of the game. And then it's on, what are their strengths and how are they going to try to attack us, and how do we try to get to our technique faster than the opponent. So that's typical, whether we were playing in the parking lot or in front of 100,000 people. That doesn't change for us, and we just try to do the best we can to stay tethered to our process, and that eliminates some of the extra stuff that can sometimes steal you from performance.
And I'm glad you brought up the defense, because Blake Baker has done a great job running LSU's defense the last couple of years. Without giving too much away, how do you want to see your offense kind of combat that on Saturday?
Again, it's about execution of our systems, and you got to credit them. They have good players. They've got them in good structure. They're putting their players in positions to be successful. These guys can be really disruptive, and so the word we've used is patience. There is no 14-point play in the playbook. We have to be willing to take what they give us and be methodical in our approach. We're expecting them to have the same approach for themselves on offense, and so possessions are going to be limited in this game. We need to capitalize. We need to create as many of those as we can for our offense, and when we get it on offense, we need to maintain possession of it. So conversion down execution, staying in third and manageables, being able to keep the entirety of our playbook open on third and fourth down rather than being limited because we're third and off schedule, and allowing them to get into their exotic looks where they've been really effective. Obviously, protecting the football becomes paramount. We can't create extra possessions for them on offense. All those things are part of our DNA, but will be of heightened importance on Saturday against a really good defense.
And arguably the most important position group in determining the success of the offense on Saturday will be the offensive line. And Clark, I've been watching this offensive line all season, and when I'm comparing them in my mind to offensive lines in Vanderbilt's past, this offensive line just looks a little bit differently in terms of physicality and what all they bring to the table. What have you liked out of that group so far?
There's a consistency there. I mean, these guys work every day the same. They're really well coached. Chris Klanakis, Jeff Nady do a great job with that group. The players have taken ownership of the identity. Again, they work from the start to the finish of practice. That physical attitude, physical approach is there every single day, and it showed up for us on Saturday. And so being that LSU is so disruptive defensively and they show multiple pressures, that group is not just going to need to show up with the right attitude and right approach. It's about communicating, getting five guys on the same page, getting our protection set, understanding how we're going to collect those movements in the run game, and hopefully being able to create space for our running backs and space in the pocket for our quarterback against a really talented kind of front seven for LSU. And so it's a big task for them, but we have a lot of faith in those guys, and I'm excited to watch them operate on Saturday and know that they'll be a big part of us having success.
And as a media member, my mindset is a little bit different because I look at the upcoming schedule that you guys have, and I know you're not focused on the upcoming games as a former player. I understand that the focus is okay. It's on LSU. Have you noticed any difference in mindset from the beginning of the season to this point in time, or has that ultimately stayed the same now that everything is kind of out in front of this team in terms of goals?
Well, I hope it stayed the same. My observations tell me that we're again in our process. We're training at the right level of focus and level of intensity, and so those are the things that I look at. I mean, I want to make sure that we don't hold it too tight. I think sometimes you can play your way into success, and then all of a sudden you start to feel an entitlement to results, and you want the games to go a certain way, and I think that can rob you from that ability to stay in the present during the game. We got to guard against that, but on the whole, I think our focus is in the right place. Our work has been in the right place. It's this group is mature. And that's going to give us chances on these Saturdays against really good teams. But this is why you want to play in the SEC is a top 10 team coming into Nashville and a chance to compete at the highest possible level. The focus to this point, I think, has been good. Again, if I'm guarding against anything, it's that we've played our way into success and we start to grip it a little too tight. I want these guys loose. I want them playing free. I want us to enjoy just the ability to be out there together on Saturday and trust that the work that we put in through the week will show up for us.
Last one for you. I know the main goal why we play the games is to win. But other than that, other than kind of stating the obvious, what do you want to see specifically from your team on Saturday?
Well, anytime you play, you want to see the identity of your program show up. And so we want to be a smart, tough, and together team. We want to play hard. And to me, anytime I consume sports, as a fan, I can always tell when you have a team that's out there playing with spirit, playing with discipline, playing with respect. Those are things that we want to define how we play. So, if anything, that needs to show up before we talk about the result. And a team that understands who we are, that understands the path for us to win, and focuses on those things over the course of 4 quarters. We'll deal with whatever result comes, but if you keep those things in front of you, it's going to give yourself the best chance to celebrate after these games. And I hope that by now those identity pieces and strategy pieces, the plan to win, are internalized for our guys, and we go out and have fun executing it.
Clark, really appreciate the time. Best of luck on Saturday.
My pleasure.
Coach Clark Lee. Kelly, before the season started, I heard a lot of the folks in the South that cover football saying this about LSU. Nobody's got more talent. By the way, I'm pretty close to agreeing with that. They were really throwing a lot of stuff at Garrett Nussmeier. Give him a chance and he'll give you a couple of free balls, that'll be INTs, get intercepted in a game. Mm-hmm. And number one, I've never been all that impressed with Brian Kelly. I don't think his teams play all that smart. And I think that, coupled with the fact that the people who were on Nussmeier have been right so far this season, he's still making dumb plays, forcing balls into places he shouldn't. I think Vandy's got a hell of a shot Saturday.
Well, Brian Kelly compared him to Jaden Daniels, talking about how Jaden played his first year and then the big, huge jump that he made the second year. And he was comparing Garrett Nussmeier to that. We're expecting him to take that jump, and I don't think he has. Now, I played with his dad in Indianapolis, and he's been around football, but I don't know, George. You see that from Brian Kelly. He struggled winning the big ones when he was at Notre Dame. I don't know. He gave up the play calling responsibilities, just like we saw here in Tennessee. He gave up the play calling responsibilities, and I think that's great for a head coach, because when you're at a big-time college program in the NFL, it's hard to do both of them. It truly is. And I think it's gotten better, but I just – for some reason, he's kind of like that guy. It was kind of like James Franklin. James Franklin could not get over that hump with beating the people that he needs to beat. And it seems like Brian Kelly's kind of in that same situation right now. And I agree with you. If they don't buckle their chin strap this weekend, Vanderbilt will take it to LSU. Now, LSU has got great players. They've always had, especially defensively, always had great players, long players. They look the part. They've had some great people come out of that program. But you're right. If they don't buckle it up this Saturday, Vanderbilt will hand it to them.
In Perkins, they have one of the great players in college football. He is the real deal.
Yep.
Here's two different thoughts on this game. First of all, it's been a while since Vandy has played a home game that had this much on the line.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. And they've earned the right to do that by way of going 5-1, and hopefully they will enjoy the atmosphere that this is creating. LSU's in a no-win deal, because not only are they playing a pretty good football team, but if they lose to Vandy, all those people on the bayou are going to go berserk, because they're sitting there going, we have the best talent in the country and we can't beat Vandy. This time around may not be as easy.
Here's what, and both of y'all think about this. Here's what kind of, it doesn't scare me, but like, if Vanderbilt goes on and they do lose this game, are people going to be saying, well, that's the Vanderbilt we thought they were? I hope that doesn't happen, because they're not that team. They're a really good football team, but they're in a really tough conference, and they're really in a tough stretch of games, as in everybody in the SEC right now. So I just hope that doesn't happen, and I think I kind of give Vanderbilt a leg up in this game. I really do. I think they, if not for a couple of turnovers at Alabama, they may have beaten Alabama in Tuscaloosa. And I just think they're really good. But it just scares me that if they lose this game, that people are going to go back to this is the same old Vanderbilt?
I don't think so. I think their fan base, which let's face it, in football has been used to losing for 50, 55 years if you're as old as I am. I think they're pretty realistic. I don't think anybody was bummed out in particular by the performance at Alabama other than me being snarky and saying that Diego Pavia doesn't need to hang around Johnny Manziel. Other than that, I think, unless they get wiped out Saturday in kind of a blowout, I think the fan base is fine with what's going on.
They better not be saying that about this is the old Vanderbilt, because that's certainly not the case. I talked to Clark about it. I talked about the offensive line. This is not the same Vanderbilt offensive line. I mean, they are mean, they are physical, they're just big. Now, for LSU, the problem for me watching LSU is the lack of balance, because the last 2 years
they don't run the ball.
They had Jaden Daniels 2 years ago, who they wasted a Heisman year for Jaden Daniels because they couldn't stop molasses in December. They can't run the football, and now we're talking about how good their defense is, but their offense hasn't caught up. Garrett Nussmeier's playing hurt, and they still can't run the football. And at LSU, that should never be a problem. You should always be able to run the football at LSU, and they haven't been able to do it.
Because their athletes are as good as anybody's.
Yeah, when Jaden Daniels was there, though, he was a lot of the running game, too. You got to remember that.
And Garrett Nussmeier can't run.
No,
he may be able to
guy.
get you 5 yards, but he's not going to take off for a 75-yard touchdown.
He's not Jaden Daniels, no.
Yeah.
Vandy is a 2.5-point favorite, which is a sign of a Sports Illustrated apocalypse. I never dreamed in my lifetime that I would ever say those words. Anyway, after the break, Terry McCormick's going to rejoin us. We're going to talk about the Titan dumpster fire. How do you fix it? This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
A golf cart from Mikey's Motors is the perfect way to get around this summer. Whether you're going to the park, the pool, or the playground, do it in a brand new golf cart from Mikey's Motors, Franklin and Murfreesboro.
Summertime fun in Tennessee. That's what we sell at Mikey's Motors. Come see how we roll.
Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us, because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday. Are you looking for expert medical care in Nashville without leaving your home? Medical House Calls brings concierge-level health care directly to your door. Whether you need urgent attention, ongoing primary care, revitalizing IV therapy, or medically guided weight loss, our experienced providers are just a phone call away at 615-838-2375 or go online, medicalhousecalls.com. It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. loss, our experienced providers are just a phone call away at 615-838-2375 or go online, medicalhousecalls.com.
ESPN Radio lives here. Your sports live here on ESPN 94.9 The Fan.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Oh, yeah. Wow. There's some bump music going back a ways.
Taking you back to the good old days, George.
Oh, when music was music.
George, you're
Your
true,
group
man.
doesn't know what good music is. Okay, Terry McCormick rejoins us. He knows what good music is. Terry, I brought up something earlier that I want to get you into because I know you're one of the few people that remembers this. There was a time where the NFL was so concerned about the Bud Adams transition move to Nashville that there were a lot of rumors that they were going to send Roger Hedrick in here basically as an NFL hired person to run it. Is that what it's going to take to fix this?
Well, it's going to take something, George, because, I mean, you played the song Killer Queen right there. That's kind of what Amy Adams Strunk has become to this organization, you know, because when you're hiring and firing, you know, now between coaches and general managers 4 in 4 years, and you're making the decisions to pull the play calling away from the head coach and ordering your front office to do that, when you do those sorts of things, the dysfunction here, you know, it might have been high before, but it was probably well masked when this team has had success, like with Floyd Reese and Jeff Fisher or with Mike Vrabel and John Robinson. But right now, you know, there's things in reports all over the place talking about the level of dysfunction in this organization. And, you know, as somebody put it to me from inside over there, it's off the charts.
Terry, when you hear that, obviously it's off the record, and I get it. What do they mean off the charts?
Like most coaches, front office people and all, you know, they've been at other stops. You know, this is, you know, working for the Titans, unless they're very young, is not their first stop in the league. And I think when you're talking about that level of dysfunction, I think it would probably be compared to other places that they've worked and the way things operate here. I think that's probably what they're referring to, that it's so much more than it is at a lot of other places, that it's a big part of what's holding the franchise back right now, George.
Let's go to the football part. I'll skip through the Burke Nihill part. I've made very clear that I think he's an empty suit, and unfortunately, he's got her ear, and that is a huge part of the problem. But Terry, when she made the decision to go to this dual heads of state, Chad Brinker, whose handprint is on this entire disaster, and now Borgonzi, who comes from Kansas City, and God only knows why. Best as you remember, why did she feel the need for this cockamamie approach?
I don't know. It goes back to the collaboration thing that she put out there after John Robinson was fired and Rand Carthon was hired, that it's kind of, you know, divvying up the duties of the football executives. Obviously, you know, there's a coach who coaches, there's a general manager who's supposed to be in charge of the roster, and then there's a president of football operations, which is Brinker, who has final say in all matters, but runs the day-to-day things that go on around the team beyond just, you know, well, we're signing this guy, we're cutting this guy.
So, okay, that leads me to Borgonzi, because the analogy that for me is out there is, okay, as a 26-year-old, I accepted a play-by-play job that a year later, I clearly didn't enjoy the city and I came home. And so people would have, well, why did you accept it in the first place, you dope? Well, because there aren't that many of them out there. And Borgonzi, it would be easy to say, could have the answer because there are only 32 of these. Yeah, but if you're not the one really making the decisions, what the hell difference does it make? Terry, does he ever talk about that? Has he been kind of had his feet put to the fire to, why would you agree to this?
I mean, well, we've only been able to talk to him a handful of times since he was hired. Once at the introductory press conference, and then the other day when Callahan was fired. And, Borgonzi certainly didn't seem like he wanted to be up there because Chad Brinker did most of the talking. And then I think one other time we've had him. But you make a valid point. I mean, but it is a general manager's title, and he is supposedly in control of the roster in terms of who's on this team and who's not. So there is that part of it. But your point is well taken, because if Chad Brinker has the final say on everything, then Mike Borgonzi is going to have to make sure he's aligned with Chad Brinker whenever these things come up and he tries to make a decision.
So in this search, who do you think is really calling the shots? And here's where I'm going back to a year and a half, 2 years ago. Okay, you had Amy and you had Nihil. And both of them, it appears to me, said, we're not going to have anybody that bitches. We're not going to have anybody that complains. We've heard all of this from Vrabel that we want. So they go get a Callahan. It doesn't appear they did their due diligence. And if they did do their due diligence, then Zach Taylor didn't really tell them the truth, which was Callahan's not ready for this. So given that track record, is this Brinker and Borgonzi doing it? And in the end, what if they don't agree on who the right choice is?
Well, I think it probably is Brinker and Borgonzi doing it in terms of searching for the next coach. And, Brinker would have the final say on the recommendation, but don't underestimate Amy Adams Strunk. She is the trump card in all this, George. She's got, she's the one holding the ace that says yes or no, because she's the one signing the checks. And as long as she's doing that, she's going to have a say into who comes into that building to coach her football team. So, yes, it's Chad Brinker with input from Mike Borgonzi, but it's also Amy Adams Strunk.
Are NFL people concerned about the level of dumpster fire?
Well, I haven't talked to anybody outside to see, but they see it. They see that this thing has gone off the rails, that it is not in the best interest of the league to have a team that is so dysfunctional and performing so poorly that they can barely compete on week after week on Sundays. So I would have to say that there has got to be some level of concern within the league, because, you would hope that, the league is set up for parity, but the Titans aren't pulling their end of that for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't look good if you have a team that ends up with the number one draft pick 2 years in a row. It's got a little bit of an LA Clippers feel under Donald Sterling.
Yeah, it really does. And it's one of those things where when you look at the mess that this has become, and you try to figure out how are you going to dig your way out of it. Well, the first thing is you need strong leadership. Well, you don't have that at the top in Amy Adams Strunk. And you might have that in Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi if she listens to them. But the thing is, when you keep firing people year after year after year, what qualified candidate is going to want this job when there's maybe another opening with another team where the owner is less meddling and there's not this level of just everything being totally screwed up.
In Michael Silver's article in The Athletic about the Titans, he quotes a Raiders coach off the record as saying, "That might be the worst team I've seen in the last 25 years. They don't have any difference makers other than Jeffrey Simmons, and the whole thing was a total mess." Wow.
He's not wrong. Now I do think they have a few guys that are underperforming. I think they've got a few guys that are solid pros and on a good team would be good role players like Amani Hooker, Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley, L'Jarius Sneed. But collectively here, they're not getting a whole lot done. And he's right. There are no difference makers other than Jeffrey Simmons.
Okay. Let me do a couple of things with you. We'll go to the break, and then I'll let these guys kind of go from here. It seems to me, Terry, that we're in a really interesting time where they better get this one right. Of course, we've been saying that now for 3 or 4 of them. You got a new stadium coming. You've got a city that right now is embarrassed and in a lot of cases very apathetic. Don't feel like there's any, desire to have much to do with them. Just kind of hope this season goes away. It seems to me, Terry, not only do they need a coach who knows what the hell he's doing, but they need one that this community starts to rally around, because Callahan in that area was a complete zero.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But you know something, George? I was talking to somebody earlier today, one of the other reporters, and we were talking a little bit about that, and I had gone all along thinking that, hey, this team needs to be good when the new stadium opens up, and I don't disagree with that. But, in terms of that, if they're not good, there are people around town. Nashville's a destination city. They know that when they're playing the Packers or the Bills or the Vikings or the Steelers or somebody like that, that team's fans are going to flock to the stadium and flock to Nashville and fill it up. And the stadium serves much more of a purpose for the city and for Amy Adams Strunk's bottom line in terms of concerts and Super Bowls and Final Fours and what have you. The Titans' performance is really a smaller part probably than we would say it is, or on the surface. That said, I still think certainly there should be a desire to want to fix this thing if the ownership has any gumption about them at all.
Terry, to me, that totally misses the point. Whoever came with that, yeah, Sunday you're going to have a bunch of Patriots fans. The lower level behind them will be completely full of Patriots fans. Is that why we brought pro football to Tennessee? Is that why people like Rick Region worked their ass off on NFL Vote Yes, so that all the visitors could come in and just throw a big old party around Nashville? That's not why we did this.
That's not why it was done at all. But that's the circumstance that you have with the current ownership. The way they've let this thing get.
Yeah, but it's a loser's mentality.
Sure it is. Sure it is. It's a disservice to the people that are good people in that organization and work hard and want this thing to turn around. It's a disservice to them, as well as it's a disservice to the entire fan base in the city of Nashville that they've let it get to this point. And then she, impulsively just fires people willy-nilly whenever things don't go right and the organization's embarrassed.
Hang with me, Terry, after the break. Terry, what am I saying? Kelly Holcomb, that's you, Kelly. And Parker Kelly will have the questions. I'm glad I could identify you on the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Sports and Social at Green Hills Mall is the new home for our Football Night in Nashville promotion. Their food is terrific. Their TV setup looks like a racing sports book in Vegas. And if you're a sports fan, you can't beat it. Starting September the 4th, we'll broadcast from Sports and Social every Thursday night. There's Pop-A-Shot, great football, and the chance to win a beautiful Mikey's Motors golf cart. See you at Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Part of many.
If you want to be part of the Plaster Show advertising family, it's simple. Just email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Again, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We will fit your budget and your needs. Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, we are back. Terry McCormick joining us by phone, Main Street Media and TitanInsider.com. Let me say that what Terry put out there a minute ago, I'm not mad at him. It infuriates me when I hear somebody come, though, with the, it's the Dome Stadium for the visitors. Screw that. We're spending $2.1 billion so the Packers can have all the seats they want. Kelly, take it away.
Go, Kelly. Go.
Hey, Terry, who all did they look to? Obviously, Mike McCoy, the interim head coach now, but who are the other candidates that they look to in the organization?
The only other one that probably would have been somewhat qualified would have been Bones Fossil, the special teams coach. And I think if they considered him, I think probably they felt like it would be more continuity with this and not having to shuffle the staff as much if they just went ahead and went with Mike McCoy, who does have that previous head coaching experience.
He does have that previous head coaching experience. It wasn't great, but was he kind of the like I said yesterday? I felt like, and this was right before the other day. I wasn't even on yesterday, but Monday, I thought that John Harbaugh was a special teams coach in Philadelphia, and then he got the Baltimore Ravens job. I thought you would kind of go with him, but they obviously wanted to go with a guy that was experienced with Mike McCoy. And I know that he's saying all the right things, but is there anything that he said that is kind of interesting to you so far, Terry?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think he said, that they want to get the tempo a little faster and, make sure that they're, more crisp and things like that. I think also that could lead to, in trying to do more of what Cam Ward is good at. Maybe that will lead to a little bit more no huddle at times so that he can find a rhythm. Maybe they go to that earlier in games as opposed to wait until the fourth quarter when they're down 10 to 15 points and then trying it. I think the one thing he said that probably sticks out most to everybody was what he said yesterday was that it's about the players and not the plays. So I think with that in mind, if he adheres to that, then that means he's going to try to play more to Cam Ward's strengths rather than trying to fit Cam Ward into what the offense is.
So, Terry, usually when you get an interim head coach, you kind of get a boost. I know that he feels, I know he's going to say all the right things, but I'm wondering if he feels like he can win. Like I know that he was an offensive assistant, and I know that he's saying all this stuff about Cam Ward, but like obviously Brian Callahan was a little bit stubborn about what he wanted to do. Like what could they do different? What has he said that they're going to do different offensively to help Cam Ward?
Well, some of it they want to try to, make sure that he's on top of his mechanics and things like that. And, in terms of the play calls, I guess he could call a little different type of game, even though you're running some of the same type plays. Maybe try to go down the field a little bit more because the explosive plays have certainly been lacking for this offense this year. So that might be something they could do. Maybe try to lean a little bit more on the run game because they do seem to abandon the run game a lot at times when they get, behind in games, maybe a little earlier than they should, because that's when young quarterbacks especially can get in trouble, is when you get in that drop back game and the pass rushers are just pinning their ears back, waiting for you to drop back 5 to 7 steps so they can clobber you.
So Terry, I know when we have this kind of turnover, and especially in the middle of the season, there's still things that happen. Is all the coaching staff intact, or did he let anybody go on the coaching staff?
Brian Callahan's assistant and Brian Callahan's dad, Bill, were the only ones that left or were that are not still with the staff. Everybody else is in place. There were 2 guys that were assistants to Bill Callahan, Scott Fuchs and Matt Jones, and they're sharing the offensive line duties.
And kind of my last thing, Terry, and I don't know if you know this, I just talking with, I'm sure they've had some players get up there, just talking about, what can they do going forward right now? Do the players going to buy in? Because like I said, they're going to get a little bit of bump, I think, with the new coach. But like, what are the players saying? And I don't know if you can answer this because I don't know if they've been to the podium. But like, are they excited about what's happening, or are they just saying the company line?
Mostly saying the company line. I don't know that anybody, because obviously they feel for Brian Callahan and him losing his job. But they're saying, hey, we got to go forward. Peter Skoronski said that McCoy's a little more old school. Maybe that's something that can help them a little bit. So it's kind of a mixed bag. And while I got you here, Kelly, I want to throw something out at you because people are starting to talk about the struggles of Cam Ward and the way he's been playing, that he's not getting better, that he looks in over his head at times. And I want to throw this theory out at you and tell me what you think. Cam Ward, in my opinion, is not your typical number 1 overall pick quarterback because he was a guy that was lowly recruited out of high school, went to Incarnate Word. We know, 2 other stops, and he finally ended up at Miami. But by going that route, it seems to me that maybe he's not had as much of the tutelage and the coaching and the, exposure to, the different things that quarterbacks learn from the time they're 13, 14 years old all the way up through college. And if he hasn't been exposed to that, it feels like to me that not that the talent's not there to be a top-level quarterback, but that the polish is not there, and he's a little bit behind in that he's a little bit more of a raw prospect than your typical number one overall pick at quarterback would normally be coming out of college.
Yeah, that's a good question, Terry. I'm not sure I can answer that correctly, man. I think I think that helped him going to. I don't think he's like these entitled kids. I think he's had to work for everything he's gotten. I think he's a really talented young man. I really do, and I think the Titans, Brian Callahan did something right, and I think they got him. Now, obviously, time will tell if I'm wrong, and I may have to eat crow one day. But I just think if a guy can play, he can play, and I don't know if that comes into what's going on with him right now, what you're talking about. But I will say this. He looks to me like he's never been in a situation like this because he's probably always won. He was good at Washington State. He was obviously good last year at Miami. He's never been in this situation before, and it looks to me like there's a young man that is learning the process of being a pro. And he really doesn't have, Brandon Allen is behind him, and he's been around a little bit. But, you've got to have some experience behind you of guys that played and can help you. And I just think right now he's looking around. He's like, man, I'm going to try to do more than I actually need to do. And somebody needs to tell him, hey, when you do that in the National Football League, it's a system for failure. And that's what he's trying. Like the other day when he held on the ball a little bit too long, somebody hit him and that ball popped up in the air and it got picked off. You can get away with a lot of that stuff in college, but in the National Football League, you cannot. And I just feel as though he's trying to do too much instead of just playing ball because he is a very talented young man. He don't have people around him, and that's hard for him to understand. And he thinks, I've got to do everything myself right now. So I think that's where he's at. But I really believe over the long haul, if they get some pieces in place, he's going to be the guy. And hopefully Mike McCoy can give them a spark, and maybe he's the guy for the future. I don't know, but I just think that they've got the right guy at quarterback right now.
All right. Parker?
Barry, can you hear him?
Just has to be the case. Like, there's really no other explanation. Kelly, why do you got to screw everything up?
Oh, it's me, huh?
Yeah.
I get paid for that. George is paying me the big bucks for that.
Okay. I did, Terry. I did want to piggyback off of what Kelly was saying because I don't think you're necessarily wrong in your thinking, but in the terms of the coaches that have been with Cam Ward throughout his college experience, you think of guys like Eric Morris and Jake Dickert and Shannon Dawson. I believe all three of those guys systematically run an NFL type scheme, which I believe prepares Cam Ward for the NFL. And also I factor in the games that he played in college. But also kind of going off of Kelly's point, I think he is trying to shoulder a lot of this load because he doesn't have the pieces around him. So that's kind of what I think on this.
Yeah, that's definitely true. He does not have enough help around him. And I think that's been the situation with this team for the last 2 to 3 years, is they just have missed on so many draft picks and so many free agents that whoever they put out there is going to be hamstrung because there's just not enough out there to win consistently with.
I did have a bit of a theory on Brian Callahan, and I do have the benefit of hindsight on this, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. So when Mike Vrabel was here, and we know how much of an alpha type personality that Mike Vrabel was, do you think that the fact that he was let go because he might have rubbed some people the wrong way in the organization, do you think that played a role in why Callahan was hired? Because Callahan comes across as, and this is no slight to him at all, I believe Brian Callahan's a great person, but he kind of comes across as a yes man. And two, do you think the fact that he was in the same place as guys like Peyton Manning, Matthew Stafford, Derek Carr, people like that. Do you think that played a role in his hiring?
100%. 100%. I think they wanted someone who was the opposite personality of Mike Vrabel. They wanted a guy who was, had much more calm demeanor, that wasn't as demanding, at least, in terms of clashing with management and clashing with, different ones or whatnot. I 100% believe they wanted a different personality. And I also think that, Brian Callahan, one of his selling points was the fact that he had worked on staffs where he had helped to coach Joe Burrow, he had helped to coach Matthew Stafford, he'd helped to coach Peyton Manning. Now, that said, in hindsight, it's like a lot of people now are wanting Joe Brady as the next Titans coach because he's doing wonderful things with Josh Allen. It's like what I said. I could coach Josh Allen. I want the guy that fixed Daniel Jones or the guy that fixed Sam Darnold. Those are the type guys that you need to be looking at because you've got a young quarterback in Cam Ward that has talent but needs developing and needs to be put on the right path before he picks up too many habits that are going to send him down the wrong road the same way that, we've seen other quarterbacks go down the wrong road and very few of them recover from it.
Terry, we got to go.
All right.
Thank you so much for your willingness to put up with all of this, and in particular, my rants.
Put up with Kelly's bad hearing.
Wow.
It's okay, George. I completely understand your frustration. I'm just saying that point was thrown out to me, and I'm like, well, if they really don't care that much, then that's pretty sad commentary.
And by the way, I'm not convinced they do care.
You may be onto something.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay, Parker, how do we close up shop?
We close up shop with Plaster's Bet of the Day, and this is brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. You went 2 for 2, or no, you didn't go 2 for 2. You only had one, right? If I remember correctly.
I had 1 and 1.
You were 1 and 1.
Dodgers and Western Kentucky.
60, 65, and 2. Oh
Yes.
yeah, today's Wednesday. I'm losing track of the days. So 1 and 1.
So Western Kentucky got absolutely annihilated.
Yeah.
Last night.
Did not expect that one.
25-6 in a game that made no sense. FIU went in there and showed them who daddy was. Tonight, I got to go with Seattle. Until Toronto shows that they're in this to make a series of it, and let's face it, tonight's kind of do or die for the Blue Jays. They go down 3-love. The likelihood of them winning this series is very small. So I'm going with Seattle tonight. Their starting pitching is really solid, and that crowd at T-Mobile will be on fire. Kelly, try to behave until tomorrow.
Parker, know your role.
What was that you said yesterday?
I'm going to call you what I'm going to call you what I used to call Billy. You little punk, know your role.
I got to run. See you tomorrow.
Now, here's your latest Fox 17 Code Red weather report.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobus, starting off in the low 50s once again, and we'll go 3 for 3 when it comes to this week's afternoons and sunshine. A high temperature later on this afternoon, right near 80.
Your